Why weren't they being checked on once a month, at least, to see if they were being fed, clothed, not being hurt?
Tonight at 6:30, the family of 5-year-old Ethan Belcher demanding answers from officials on why they didn't do anything sooner to prevent his death. And nearly 80 dogs rescued from a small house out in western Michigan. What police found when they went inside, coming up. CBS News Detroit starts right now.
Live, covering all of Southeast Michigan, CBS News Detroit at 6:30 starts now.
We're getting a break from the freezing cold and snow tonight, but how long will that last? That is the big question. Thanks for tuning in to CBS News Detroit at 6:30, streaming live on the CBS News app. I'm Kris, Laudien, in for Jess Spersky. We're in for plenty of sun as we get closer to the weekend. It was sunny today, but that doesn't always mean it's warmer. Next weather meteorologist Ahmad Baji joins us, and that sun, like I said, doesn't always mean we're in for warmer temperatures.
No, and we really do have that dive still later this week, but we do have that break. Like you mentioned, we have a chance to stay at least a little closer to our average marks going through tonight and into tomorrow. But right now, outside your window, 25 in Pontiac to a sharp drop, 18 in Ann Arbor and in Adrian, 19 in Monroe. But by the time we get into the next 7, here's that more comfortable break, 32 going into tomorrow. But we still have a wind chill we have to deal with, just not as drastically low. It'll feel like about 5 degrees going into the morning tomorrow. We're closer to the air temp as the winds take a brief break. They ramp up as we go into the start of the day on Friday, and you'll notice while our air temp drops again into the single digits, our wind chills plummet toward the double digits below zero. But that's not the only one. It's Saturday morning where everything really drops as we get a little further into it. For example, if you're somebody that ends up feeling those, sinus pressure headaches, we are still under high pressure there to start off the day on Saturday, but don't be surprised if Friday night with that sharp change, you start to feel things a little bit. But there's another one right here toward the very middle of next week where we start to really dive down, and that's when rain returns. But for rain to happen, it needs to be a lot warmer, and we will get back into the 40s. We'll talk about that in just a little bit.
Yeah, that rain sounds nice, but for now, I'll keep the space heater handy.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot, Ahmad. Well, the city of Detroit is opening 2 24-hour warming centers today to help Detroit residents deal with the extreme cold temperatures. Those centers are the Farwell Recreation Center on East Outer Drive and the Patton Recreation Center on Woodmere. These centers will stay open through Sunday, February 5th. The city also says Detroit Public Library branches will remain available as temporary resting spots. They are still working under COVID-19 protocols, meaning there's a limited capacity and masks are mandatory. Last week we told you about 5-year-old Ethan Belcher, who was tragically killed, allegedly by his own parents' abuse. Our Alicia Bergio spoke with Ethan's aunt, who's still demanding answers from officials on how this could have happened.
It's so hard. I just wish Ethan was still here.
Days have gone by, but Ashley Belcher still feels gutted, knowing her nephew, 5-year-old Ethan Belcher, is no longer here.
They failed him. They failed that baby.
Police say Ethan was beaten to death by his parents, stepdad Shane Shelton and mother Valeria Hamilton, at their home in the 14,000 block of Spring Garden Street in Detroit. Belcher claims in the last 5 years, nearly a dozen calls to Child Protective Services were filed by family members, 2 directly from her. The first when Ethan was only an infant. Why did you make that complaint?
Because my brother had went for a visit and Ethan was completely emaciated.
Belcher says CBS investigated, but the children were not removed.
And all she had to do was go take some classes.
The second complaint by Belcher in February 2021.
I took him to the hospital because he was bruised from head to toe.
At that time, Belcher says Ethan was removed from his home and placed with a family member temporarily. He was sent back to his parents not long after.
After she received the children back, why weren't they being checked on once a month, at least, to see if they were being fed, clothed, not being hurt?
We went looking for answers, calling the state health department directly. The system has failed this poor boy, and it's unfortunate because now there's a child whose life is lost, a family who's grieving, and the fact that the state health department cannot comment, it's disappointing, it's frustrating for a lot of people.
Yeah, I understand that people may be frustrated by that, but we have to follow the law, and that's state law and federal law that prohibits us from discussing it.
We even took it a step further and reached out to the governor's office several times today, but have not yet heard back.
We need to find out with these cases what happened. If there's no transparency for decades, all these cases just get swept under the rug.
Michigan Senator Jim Runstad is proposing a bill that would do the opposite.
Currently, they tell us we can't tell you anything. So my bill is to bust that open and allow legislators, sitting legislators, and credentialed media to be able to get this information. The Supreme Court can't get away with this lack of transparency. Sheriff's departments, police departments can't get away with this. Only CPS. Why only CPS?
Something needs to change. Something needs to change. And it's unfortunate that poor baby had to lose his life for this to happen.
Tuesday was the last day of National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, but many healthcare providers are still encouraging one another to learn how to spot signs of a human trafficking victim. Jamie Hope, a physician at Corewell Health in Beaumont, is working on teaching healthcare workers what to watch for when treating people. She says over 80% of recovered victims say they were seen in a medical setting while being trafficked.
When we learn about this, we can see it. And the only way to help recover and rescue victims is first to see what it looks like so we know how to help. I get to train an army of people who are out there to recognize so we can continue spreading that hope throughout the land and do anything that we can to help decrease the amount of human trafficking.
According to the U.S. State Department, over 27 million people are victims of human trafficking at any given time across the globe. Well, new tonight, a study finds that black taxpayers are 3 times more likely to be audited by the IRS than non-black taxpayers. However, the study's authors say their findings don't suggest bias by IRS agents. In fact, agents don't know the race of the people they're auditing. Instead, researchers say they found documented discrimination by the computer algorithms the agency uses to audit people. The study found that the discrimination might be tied to budget cut decisions the agency made over the last decade, relying more on automated systems. The study was conducted by economists from Stanford, the University of Chicago, and the University of Michigan. Some Detroit commuters got into work late this morning after a freight train derailed in southwest Detroit. A representative from the Canadian National Railway told CBS Detroit one of their freight trains derailed around 11:45 last night. They say 9 rail cars went off the tracks, with one of them leaning over the rail bridge. All 9 cars were empty and no injuries, leaks, or fires were reported. The railway says they don't know yet what caused the derailment. A dog shelter in western Michigan needs your help after nearly 80 dogs were rescued from, quote, dreadful living conditions on Monday. This happened in the city of Norton Shores in Muskegon County. Police say they got an anonymous complaint about a resident having an excessive number of dogs in their home. When they arrived, the dogs were found in poor health, and the house was a, quote, significant health hazard to animals. In total, 78 dogs were rescued and brought to the Pound Buddy shelter. If you're looking to help these dogs find a home, you can visit our website, cbsdetroit.com. We'll have all of that information right there for you. And we're still streaming around the clock, and that includes for those of you in South Lyon. The CBS News app is available to download for free.
And our forecast focused on cold for us, but there is a large storm down to the south that is verging on historic marks. We're going to show you why that's so important for us here at home.
What Black History Month means to me is taking time out to acknowledge the contributions of my forefathers, my ancestors, and also being inspired by them to pick up that torch and keep it going.
Welcome back, and we're apparently starting February off on the warmer side, but how long will that warm streak last? I'm not sure, Ahmad. This is warmer, is it?
For a day.
Okay, for a day.
One day, we get a chance to be back up near freezing, and then that's comfortable, and then right back down we go.
Right back down, okay, because I'm coming from Minneapolis, and this morning I was going to say it was pretty comparable
I was laughing because we were talking in the hallway a little earlier. I went, all right, so you at least, I know for sure, as everybody's coming on in here with CBS News Detroit, I knew you were comfortable with the cold.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least experienced with it.
I have the right winter weather wear.
See, there we go. Now, that's the main thing here. We've got one day where we have some milder air in the low 30s for us tomorrow. But by the time we get into the end of the week, we slide right back down. You saw there our live shot from our tower cam. It shows we've got some clear skies helping us out, and that allows us to drop further. We began the month of January easily mild. I mean, you remember that was the warmest start to January since the early 1930s. And then that cold air came right on in to start off February. But again, we have one day, just one, where we get to stay a little more comfortable. And then we drop again going into Friday. That is where our lowest point is this week. The bigger thing, though, when we start to average in the rest of the month of February, or at least the start of it, that is where the real mild air is. And that's what you see right here. Look at this, the upper 30s from Sunday into Monday, 40s, actual 40s going into Tuesday and Wednesday, and it's rain showers. Just rain showers that start to mix in next week. And while that does look rather nice, at least to start, and you can see there is a ton of heat that's going to start to take over in that 6 to 10 day outlook, which has been really nailing it down actually the past couple of months. That could be another issue. I know, I want to try and give you those positive notes, right, with the warmth that we're finally going to get. But we have the snow on the ground, right, and we're going to end up getting the warmth. That starts to melt it away, and we'll melt basically all of the snow that we have on the ground away by the middle of next week. We also add the rain to it. That doesn't help. Our ground, though, is still frozen. Clearly, we've had the cold there to help us out. Where does the water go? Well, if you are somebody that has those issues with your basement or your foundation, start keeping an eye out now, especially if you're on a sump system, to make sure that the water has a place to drain to. Now, there is something I wanted to touch on, mainly because this is going to end up being national headlines for the next several days. They're already up to nearly 400,000 without power in areas from basically Dallas all the way down through Austin because of this massive storm system that's been moving through. Why does this look like really just an easygoing rain shower? The issue is it's all freezing rain. They're not prepped for something like that. Remember, we had this issue back in 2021 where there was a large winter storm that shut them down for a while. They don't have plows, and that's a concern here. It's all ice that they're having to deal with. That system basically keeping us in that same path going into the rest of our week. We don't deal with that. What we deal with instead is on the northern edge, we pick up some stronger wind, and then we actually get some more cloud cover out of it with that bitter cold. That's what we end up getting on the very far northern stream. Now into Thursday afternoon, we're starting to see some of that system. Now Texas is getting moves way to our south, and on the northern edge, you can see this one line diving in, a couple of light little snow showers, and then it's all about the wind. Because Thursday night into Friday morning, we really pick up some stronger breezes. And you can see it's all out in the northwest. You see these cloud streaks that we're getting here? That's stronger wind causing those. It's all lake effect based because while we're building ice on the lakes, we still aren't there just yet to be able to calm down that lake effect cloud cover or lake effect snow. Once we freeze over Lake Michigan, we actually really get rid of most of that lake effect cloud cover. But this year, it's taken until now for us to finally start to build it. We get past that, though, we get into the weekend, and then it's all just about cloud cover and finally a run towards some of that warmer air into the start of next week. It's going to take some time, but we're finally getting at least a little bit of a break there for us. And I'm starting to look at the numbers right now when it comes to January and where we rank, because at least for Southeast Michigan, that was the warmest start to January all the way up until the last week and a half since the early 1930s. And I want to see where we really end up in that grand scheme of things.
It's been a while. Well, apparently I arrived just in time for the cold. So
see, you
that's
brought
good
it.
to know.
You brought it with you.
I'm glad you put it in perspective. All right, thanks a lot, Ahmed. And for those of you watching in Monroe tonight, remember we are always on the clock for you. Streaming free right now from the CBS News app. We'll be right back. The Federal Reserve is increasing interest rates, but not as much as before. CBS News correspondent Dina Demetrius tells us why.
Inflation is starting to ease, hiring is slowing down, and the red-hot real estate market has cooled. With that in mind, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell announced an interest rate hike of just a quarter point, the smallest increase since the Fed began raising rates last March.
Shifting to a slower pace will better allow the committee to assess the economy's progress toward our goals.
The central bank is walking a fine line, trying to slow the economy enough to pull down inflation while avoiding a recession.
The Fed reduced the amount of the interest rate increase because the data have been improving. Growth is already slowing down. Consumers are pulling back on spending, so are businesses, and we are seeing that inflation is starting to slowly start to go down.
Prices are easing, but it costs more to borrow money. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage is 6.1%. That's actually down from previous weeks, but still way above 3.5% at this time last year. The average used car loan is 10.6%, up from 7.5% a year ago, and credit card rates are just under 20%.
We will continue to make our decisions meeting by meeting.
Powell says the board will continue to boost rates as needed.
They're going to look at data. They're going to help drive their decisions with a determination about whether or not growth is slowing down enough to bring down the inflation rate.
The Federal Reserve makes its next decision in March. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
In your Health Watch, a new study found that eating more ultra-processed foods like hot dogs and donuts is associated with higher rates of developing cancer, especially ovarian cancer. The study looked at nearly 200,000 people in the United Kingdom over a 10-year span. Researchers found that each 10% increase in eating these foods was associated with a 2% increased risk of developing any cancer. That risk goes up to 19% when it comes to ovarian cancer. However, researchers say the study only proves association between these foods and cancer, not causation. Many in the Beehive are rejoicing today as Beyonce announced she's going back on tour. The Grammy award-winning singer kicks off her Renaissance World Tour in Stockholm on May 10th. Her one stop in Michigan will be at Ford Field on July 26th. Tickets go on sale for that one February 6th. You better be ready to get in the queue early for that one. It's going to be a hot ticket.
That's one of those ones that you just know all of that area downtown is just going to be
packed. It's going to be a great evening for that.
Now I got to keep the weather part up.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
you got time.
Yeah, so here's what we got going on in that forecast ahead. One last look again. Here's the thing with the Great Lakes and the ice as a whole, because we've heard us say a couple of times that the ice actually forming is a big issue for us. We've had a lot of sunshine recently, thanks to the fact the cold air finally starting to get most of it built in the way the wind direction's been moving in, because that's the primary thing here for us. The faster we can build more ice, the faster we can shut down those cloudier days and get some more sunshine building in.
Like to hear that. Get a little heat.
I've been enjoying it.
Thanks a lot for the update there.
Yeah.
And finally, tonight on CBS News Detroit at 6:30, across the country, the month of February is set aside to celebrate and learn about Black history. But in Florida, that will look very different this year. In 2022, Governor Ron DeSantis signed legislation that restricts certain race-based conversations in schools and businesses. CBS News correspondent Christian Benavides spoke with a retired professor there who's vowed to keep teaching.
The first time I came out here.
For Dr. Marvin Dunn, the town of Rosewood is hallowed ground, the site of one of the worst race massacres in Florida history. In 1923, a white mob burned down a thriving Black community. Rosewood is one of the stops on Dunn's Teach the Truth tour. High school student Janiyah Spivey took the tour in January.
They kind of made me angry because these Black people, they didn't deserve being killed.
Dunn, a retired professor at Florida International University, started the tours after Governor Ron DeSantis signed a law called the Individual Freedom Act, limiting what can be taught about race.
You're afraid that they're not being taught this in the classroom.
I know that they're not being taught this in the classroom. They're not being taught any kind of history, Black history, that could possibly embarrass or make a white person feel guilty.
The law, referred to as the Stop Woke Act by its supporters, says an individual should not be made to feel guilt, anguish, or other forms of psychological distress based on past actions by members of the same race.
The state law has created confusion over what educators can say about race.
Florida's Education Department recently rejected an advanced placement African American Studies course, citing in part lessons on reparations, the Black Lives Matter movement, and Black gender and sexuality.
We want education, not indoctrination.
The law has also been cited in the removal of books, including Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, from school libraries in Pinellas County.
Right now, Florida is the least free state in the union, where they're trying to limit information available to children and to their parents.
Last fall, a federal judge paused the law's implementation in public colleges and universities. No matter the final outcome, Dunn says he will keep teaching the history he feels all Florida students should know. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.